capture or kill.
How the hell did Orion get their hands on this?
We need an army.
I can get us an army.
Weapons hard to get us.
So I have no idea how to follow up a blockbuster introduction like that, but maybe with some blockbuster numbers. I have my stats here. I think maybe not everybody in the audience has an understanding of just exactly how big this franchise is. Life-to-date franchise revenue over $30 billion, over 425 million Call of Duty premium games sold to date, over 125 million players in Warzone since launch, and that's just one of the Call of Duty games, and over 650 million Call of Duty mobile downloads globally since launch. So this is not just kids on their Xbox anymore. Maybe it was when Call of Duty first launched, but what is the global audience for this franchise like right now?
Yeah, right now we're seeing well over, give or take, 300 million players having some sort of active relationship with Call of Duty all over the world. So you're right, the stats are pretty staggering, and what I found, having worked on the brand, but also having loved it for decades now, is that when you think about a 20-year-old brand, to amass the type of stature and brand love that Call of Duty has amassed, it's still evolving at such a clip that we often say our best days, our biggest, boldest days are still ahead of us because of what we're still able to do in terms of expanding our audience.
And it's not just that, oh, we're coming out with a new game every couple of years. We just saw the reveal trailer. You used a phrase backstage that blew me away, that what you're really doing is coming out with a blockbuster movie every single fall.
Yep.
How insane is that? Like, how do you stay on top of that?
Yeah, I find that sometimes lost in the conversation. Sometimes those who may not be as familiar or active with gaming franchises, they don't often realize that that's a singular tenet for Call of Duty. That imagine releasing a Marvel size and scoped or Star Wars size and scoped blockbuster movie every fall. And what's happened even in addition to that expectation, that every holiday, of course, Modern Warfare 2 being the next big one, we're all eyes on October 28th, but we still have active live seasons happening that are now this sort of tail. So every chapter has a new theme. Every 8 weeks, we're coming with new content and active play as we go.
And that's a crazy part to understand, is that it's not, oh, we release this game and it's static, and then we just can go do other things for a year until we come out with the next one.
Exactly.
This is constantly being updated into seasons with new content. You're constantly keeping the players engaged.
That's right. That's right.
One of the things I think that's really interesting about that is because the storyline grows and changes and there are these seasons, you get players involved in the game in a way that it's like, this is their social activity now. Like, I have my group of friends and like, we're gonna play through this season and then we're gonna go into the next one. So Call of Duty is more than just like, it's not a solo campaign anymore, it's a social event for groups of friends.
It really is, and it is across every big franchise you could think of. It's not exclusive to Call of Duty, that oftentimes you're gonna make some of your best friends in life, and frankly from all over the world by playing, but Call of Duty in particular, we have found so many powerful stories and anecdotes, whether they're NFL players who, when they're not, on the field, they're getting together with their either teammates or former teammates by dropping into Warzone or playing in that way. But even personally, I was just at a family wedding where the vast majority of the wedding list were friends who have connected over the years by playing Call of Duty, and now are they're so close that they're now, top of the list for attending somebody's wedding. So it's pretty incredible to see.
And I was reporting a story at Yankee Stadium, and I was in the locker room, and all the players have their Xboxes or PlayStations in their locker.
Yes.
They're playing Call of Duty before they actually go out on the field to play baseball, which is just crazy to me.
And it's amazing. I mean, we've seen the organic sort of take on that, right? Even famous players, Rams players, Odell Beckham Jr., for example, or others, they're starting to translate that even on field sometimes. When they score a touchdown, you'll see a celebration dance that's really hearkening back to some moment of gameplay in Call of Duty.
Right.
Same, we see that
They're
with
doing the
ML.
dance from the game, or
Yeah.
taunting the players. When you taunt someone that you've shot in Call of Duty, now they're doing that on the field.
Exactly.
The celebrity aspect is interesting too, because the franchise now is so big, you're not just trying to reach your customers by advertising in game magazines or in GameStop or something like that. You're reaching out through big Hollywood stars and big Hollywood franchises. Tell me a little bit first about like the stars that you've worked with and the way that you're using people like
Sure.
Pete Davidson or these football players to reach your audience.
Yeah, we know that one of the important ingredients to Call of Duty's stature is how we show up beyond the game in pop culture. So it's become almost commensurate with what's happening in culture and how do we always have our stamp on it. So for Modern Warfare 2 in particular, over the last several weeks, we've actually shown up in these pop culture moments like the NFL draft. A lot of the top prospects were walking the red carpet and they were having winks and nods in their own suits and their fashion game to promote their love for Modern Warfare 2. But you also saw, to your point about Pete Davidson, Steve Aoki, we had Trae Young, huge NBA star, and many others showing up in a live action trailer that we just ran to promote what's coming on October 28th. And what was really special about that is this is organic. I mean, these guys love to be a part of that Call of Duty moment. And they share it out on their own channels, and then you see some of their very famous friends pick it up and share it organically with their own friends and family and followers. So it's been really special. It's always going to be part of what we do. We have to win in the game itself, but we also want to show up in broader culture wherever we can.
And one of the ways that you're doing that, reaching out into broader culture, is through these sort of cross-media events.
Yep.
For instance, Godzilla vs. Kong, that movie came out and there was a big tie-in with Call of Duty. Can you tell the audience like how that worked and what the experience was like?
Yeah, so for season 3, back to seasons and these add-on chapters of content, a couple months ago, we did a great partnership to celebrate the Monsterverse in Caldera, in Warzone, right, on our map. And what was awesome is you could start to compete and fight the Titans in this highly interactive, amazingly cinematic way inside of Warzone. My kids and other teenagers who love Call of Duty, they loved it because they love, the sort of Monsterverse IP, but it's a very natural fit. We also had, within days of that, Snoop Dogg dropping into Warzone, so you could kind of suit up as Snoop. Wildly successful and very natural to our Call of Duty brands.
I just have to take a minute to reflect on how much things have changed from like the first Call of Duty 20 years ago, where it was just sort of like, oh, it's World War II, to now you're fighting Godzilla and hanging out with Snoop Dogg in the game. It's really gotten so much bigger and crazier.
Yeah.
And the audiences have changed too. We've talked about how it's gotten bigger, but Call of Duty isn't just a console experience now.
Yep.
A huge part of the audience is on mobile. What is that experience like, and who are those players?
Yeah, so back in about 2019, we launched our first foray into Call of Duty Mobile. It was an overnight success in many ways. We saw over 100 million downloads just in its first few days. It's now grown to over 500 million installs all over the world. But to your point, what we're seeing is that mobile is one of the, if not the, fastest growing gaming platforms in the entire industry. So it becomes this strategic imperative for us to win on every platform that's going to matter. If you're a gamer, you may prefer your PlayStation or your Xbox because you've grown up with console, but we have a right to win not only on a mobile platform on glass, but to also bring Call of Duty to new regions that might be mobile skewing, right? And so what we've seen is that growth in the player base is continuing to expand because now we're able to show up maybe in Latin America in a way that console-heavy games may not, or India and other parts of the Middle East. So it's been really, really interesting to see how the demographics have expanded by way of our investment in mobile.
And while reaching into those new geographies and those new players, you were also able to access some of the celebrity and some of the pop culture from those regions too. You've worked with some Latin American artists.
Correct, yeah, Ozuna being a great example. He's huge in Latin American culture, an amazing player of Call of Duty as well. And so again, a very natural and symbiotic relationship there where he was very excited to be a part and a very immersive part of the content for one of our seasons on the Call of Duty mobile side. But it gave us yet another way to sort of connect to broader culture on a much more global scale.
You came over to this franchise from the NFL. You used to be at the NFL. How are the fandoms different? I was going to say sports fans, but esports is also a sport, right?
Yep.
So how are NFL fans different from Call of Duty fans and from watching this as an actual sport?
Yeah, well, when you think about the competitive side, so the esports side of the best Call of Duty players being recruited to play professionally for, grand prizing, that's been a hugely growing space across all of gaming for many decades now. To your question about what's different, I would argue not much is different.
Right.
It's part of the reason I made the jump from the NFL was because I believe that this is where the future of sports, entertainment, competitive entertainment, live events are starting to converge around the gaming. The conversation around gaming is becoming so much more of a mainstream acceptable medium for everything that we've just talked about,
right,
including being a professional player.
Yeah.
And so when you think about how we can stage live events that really celebrate the best of the best, that should feel no different in many ways from how the NFL or the NBA may also do that. It's specific to Activision Blizzard that we've taken the models in terms of governance structures or city-based franchising into our IP, specifically with Call of Duty League. But the Toronto Ultra, in particular, have done a tremendous job putting the city of Toronto on the map by way of professional gameplay. And they just hosted an amazing tournament major here just a few weeks ago.
I think people may not have a real conception of how big these local teams are, how big the stadiums are. There's new stadiums being built just for esports.
Correct. Yeah, we see that in LA. The Kroenke Group, obviously the owners and builders of SoFi Stadium. They also built an esports arena right next to the big stadium where the Super Bowl was played. Because a lot of these leaders understand that the future of fandom and the future of sports leagues will include mainstream adoption of esports.
Right.
Yeah.
And the media to access esports, it's sort of much broader than traditional sports that people are watching on different channels and different hardware. Like, you're really reaching people differently and deeply.
Correct. You could stream live competition in the game itself. You could also watch it on linear TV, and you can certainly watch it on OTT platforms who are making a huge investment in this space.
So going forward, what's the next generation of this? Are we just more seasons and bigger and better, or does the game evolve into something else?
It's hard to predict because the gaming industry is not only on a hyper-growth track, but is changing almost overnight, right? So once you think you've got it, you got to be ready and agile for the next trend. What I will say, though, is we have seen such enormous success in focusing in on launching major title releases like the one to come in October with Modern Warfare 2. That's bread and butter Call of Duty, right? But also to expand on free-to-play through Warzone, mobile free-to-play, this add-on live seasons economy in many ways is a lot of where the blueprint for gaming's growth is going to come from. So we need to win in both spaces. And we also need to think about culture. We're never going to take our eye off the ball about just the ancillary halo benefits that come from Call of Duty being something that everybody in this audience hopefully has heard of. If they don't have a direct relationship with, they know somebody who does. And that sort of fever pitch anticipation for what is Call of Duty going to do next is something that we take pride in. And so we always are going to think about what's around the corner and how do we lead.
You mentioned the different economies and the different ways that people can get into the game. I think it's interesting that for a long time, Call of Duty was, here's a $60 game, you go and buy the disc, it's a premium product, and 100 million people went and bought that disc.
Correct, yeah.
But so how do you expand that audience out even bigger? And one of the ways you do it is by free-to-play and by mobile. So now technically people don't have to spend any money at all to be part of this franchise and be in the game.
That's right. And to your point, to build on that, now you have swaths of fans who may opt to watch through esports, right? So you have all these behaviors of I might connect by being a core single-player campaign. I can't wait to get my hands on Task Force 141 with Modern Warfare 2. No doubt. But there's so many other people in the world who may be more casual, or they may not have that kind of time, or they're more interested in watching the best of the best go for it, right? And so now we have these ancillary opportunities to build brand love, build engagement around, again, to your point, the priced, premium, elite, deep, rich content experience that is what will come in October and we do every fall. But if you're a free-to-play player, now you have a great way to engage and drop in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To that point of engaging, I just find it fascinating talking to people who maybe don't even play the game in any way.
Yeah.
There, for instance, I play Call of Duty, but there's another game, League of Legends, which is
Sure.
a big esport.
For sure.
I cannot play that game. I am terrible at that game.
Yep.
I like watching it as an esport.
Exactly.
I have talked to lots of people who watch the Call of Duty live events. They
Yep.
watch the esport and they don't play it.
Yes.
It's entertainment.
Yes, that's exactly right. Same would go for traditional sports, right? You would see the same insight. Not a lot of us play football actively, but a ton of us watch it, right? Especially in North America. So it's just a really interesting time, and I think, again, we're thinking about, to your points, how do we broaden accessibility to those who may be intimidated or may have other time constraints or price constraints? And so I think we're very well positioned to continue to sort of marshal multiple strategies at once. The complexity comes in how do you balance such a behemoth business of this scale with
Right.
so many different expectations, but I can't imagine a better franchise to do it.
Well, one of the other ways that you reach people that way is through other media. There have at times been rumors about Call of Duty movie, TV shows,
Yep.
but also consumer products.
For
I know
sure.
is a big thing for
Yes.
you. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like just outside of the video game world entirely, how are you reaching people?
Yeah, I love it. Our consumer products team, for example, they just launched together with us a new franchise shop. So let's say you play, let's say you got fried, you're a casual player, but there's certain things that you might have in your vernacular as a player, right? And you would want to rep that. And
Right.
so now you can sort of drop in and have a more tactile experience by buying or gifting real merchandise that expresses your Call of Duty fandom in a certain way. Of course, we have that on the esports side as well. Collectibles is huge. I mean, there's so much you can do even beyond the traditional gameplay itself.
A lot of the conversation at this conference this week has been about the metaverse and the real and unreal, and one of the things that I think is really interesting about that is the way that people can take their digital presence in Call of Duty. They can wear their badge of their
Yes.
favorite team, or
Yes.
they can have their Funko Pop that looks like their favorite player.
Exactly.
Like you can actually take that virtual experience into the real world with you.
That's exactly right. And I have so many fun stories about just when you rock it, when you least expect it, somebody will see it or somebody will relate, and you have that sort of understanding because the Call of Duty community is so huge, right?
Well, I want to thank you for your time, and I also want to thank you for the fact that I was able to spend the last week playing Call of Duty during work hours and pretending it was research.
There you go. I appreciate that.
So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for speaking to us.
Thank you. Thanks very much.